Philadelphia, the city that kept reinventing itself. Philadelphia is often called the birthplace of the United States, but its story began long before the Declaration of Independence, before William Penn, and before the city had a name. For generations, the Delaware River Valley was home to the Lenape people. They lived in settlements such as Passyunk, Nitapèkunk, and Shackamaxon. The rivers, forests, and paths shaped their communities and connected them to the trade, food, and neighboring peoples. The land that became Philadelphia was already inhabited, named, and understood. In the early 17th century, European powers entered the valley. Dutch explorers arrived first, followed by Swedish, Finnish, English, and German settlers. The Dutch built trading posts. New Sweden established ports and settlements along the Delaware. Control shifted when the Dutch took over the Swedish colony, and again when the English captured the region. By 1682, about 50 Europeans were living in and around Wicaco. That year, William Penn arrived with a plan for a new city. A city built on an idea. Penn was a Quaker who had experienced religious persecutions. He imagined Philadelphia as a place where people of different faiths could live and worship freely. He also imagined an orderly city with broad streets, public squares, gardens, orchards, and homes spread apart. He named it Philadelphia from Greek words connected to love, friendship, and brotherhood. Penn's city was laid on between the Delaware and Schuylkill River. The streets followed a grid. Broad and high streets became the main routes, while others were named after the trees. Four public squares were reserved for everyone, and a central square was a plan for public buildings. But cities do not always follow the dreams of their founders. Most early residents wanted to live near the Delaware, where trade and shipping offered opportunity. Land was divided into small slots, narrow streets appeared, and settlement became more crowded than when instead. Still, Philadelphia grew rapidly. European population increased from a few hundred in 1683 to more than 2,500 by 1701. English, Welsh, Irish, German, Swedish, Finnish, and Dutch residents lived there. The city became an important port and commercial center. Trade prosperity, but it also connected Philadelphia to the wider Atlantic world, including the West Indies, Europe, Africa, and triangular trade. The city exported grain, lumber product, and flaxseed. Immigrants arrived from German and Northern Ireland. Mennonites, Anglicans, Catholics, Pietists, and Jews joined the Quaker populations. Philadelphia's promise of tolerance was real but incomplete. Political tension, high food prices, violence, crime, and religious conflict disturbed the city. The streets were dirty and unfed. Garbage and animals filled the public spaces. During the rainy season, roads could become almost impossible to use. Yet, Philadelphia was also becoming a center of learning and public life. Libraries, schools, theaters, newspapers, and scientific institutions appeared. James Logan built one of the largest libraries in the colonies. Benjamin Franklin arrived in 1723 and became one of the city's most influential citizens. He helped create a fire company, improve coastal roads, raise money for hospital, support a college, and organize local defense. By the middle of the 18th century, Philadelphia was one of the most important cities in British North America, the heart of a revolution. In the 1760s and 1770s, conflict with British intensified. Philadelphia residents joined boycott of British goods. When a ship carrying tea arrived in 1773, local pressure forced it to leave without unloading. In 1774, delegates from the colonies gathered at Carpenter's Hall for the First Continental Congress. The following year, after fighting began at Lexington and Concord, the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia, but the rebellion brought up fear and displacement. In 1777, British forces defeated George Washington at the Battle of Brandywine and advanced toward the city. Thousands fled. Congress moved away. The Liberty Bell and other bells were secretly transferred to the Northampton town, now Allentown, to prevent the British from melting them into weapons. British troops entered the Philadelphia in September 77 and occupied it for about 10 months. They withdrew in June 1778 and the Continental government returned. Yet the beneath language of liberty was continuing really of slavery. Pennsylvania had begun gradually abolitions in 1780, but national leaders brought enslaved people to the city. Some avoided the law by moving them out of Pennsylvania before they qualified for freedom. Two people enslaved by President George Washington escaped from the president's house. Diseases and transformation. In 1793, a yellow fever epidemic spread through Philadelphia. Fear drove about 20,000 residents to flee. Trade nearly stopped, and neighboring towns sometimes refused entry to people and goods from the city. By the time colder weather ended, the outbreak between 4,000 and 5,000 people had died from a population of about 50,000. Philadelphia recovered, but its national position changed. The federal government left in 1800. New York later replaced Philadelphia as the country's busiest port and largest city. Philadelphia's next great identity was industrial. The workshop of America, factories, foundries, railroad, banks, textiles mills, and shipyard and machines works transformed the city. Philadelphia became one of the first major industrial centers in the United States. It produced locomotives, ships, clothing, iron goods, paper products, leather, shoes, sugar, oil, and cigars. Industrial growth attracted workers, but it also created harsh conditions. In 1835, about 20,000 workers joined, but they uploaded sources described as the first general strike in North America. They owned a 10-hour workday and higher wages. Immigration changed the city again. Irish and German newcomers arrived in large number. Later came Jewish immigrants from Russia and Eastern Europe, Italian and African American from the South. Growth created crowded neighborhoods and deep inequality. Wealthier residents moved west or into suburbs, while poorer families lived in the small row houses. Boarding houses and tenements were industry and ambition. During the Civil War, Philadelphia suffered the union with soldiers. uniforms, amenities, sheep, medical care. More than 157,000 soldiers and sailors were treated in the city. After the war, population continued to grow, but in 1876, more than 800,000 people lived in Philadelphia. That year, the city hosted the Centennial Expositions, the first World's Fair in the United States. More than 9 million visitors saw invention and industrial achievements, including Alexander Graham Bell's telephone and Corliss steam engine. The exhibition presented Philadelphia as a confident industrial city and United States as a growing world power. The early 20th century brought modern roads, skyscrapers, electric power, radios, subways, bridges, cultural institutes, and also brought strikes, political battles, organized crime, and continuing racial inequality, a fad and a pandemic. In 1918, influences spread from the naval yard into the city. A Liberty Loan Parade attended by more than 200,000 people. Health and diseases moved rapidly through the population. More than 12,000 people died before the epidemic subsided. A little more than a decade later, the Great Depression caused another crisis. Banks failed, factories reduced production, construction collapsed, unemployment rose. Families struggles to pay mortgages, find work, and purchase basic goods. New Deal program later provided job to 10,000 of Philadelphians. In 1944, white transit workers went to the strike after African Americans were promoted to positions from which they had previously been excluded. Federal intervention ended the strike after 6 days. The city began the city begins to shrink. Philadelphia's population reached more than 2 million in 1950. Then the city began to shrink. Factories closed or moved. Railroad employment declined. Middle class families, many of them white, left the suburbs. Older neighborhoods suffered from the job loss, poverty, housing, gang conflict, and organized crime. The 1960s and 1970s brought civil rights protests, anti-war demonstrations, racial conflict, rising crime, and bitter arguments over policy. The most tragedy in 1985, conflict in between any city authorities and group mob ended in catastrophe. Police dropped a bomb on the group's West Philadelphia house. The resulting fire killed 11 people, including 5 children, and destroyed more than 60 neighboring homes. Philadelphia was built through conflict, ambition, labor, migration, suffering, and hope. Its greatest monuments tell only part of the story. The rest lies in row houses, factory walls, churches, public squares, forgotten graves, and the memories of people who kept rebuilding the city.